When I began Dragon Actors Theatre, the idea was to nurture talent for long-term success, and that's been something that is very near and dear to my heart. I've been working with young performers for, gosh, over 20 years, longer than I really care to remember sometimes. But many of those students have become accomplished performers in their own right. Starting out in England, a lot of my students have done productions such as West Side Story, Legally Blonde, have gone on to BBC television programs and so on. I came to the Fredericksburg area 5 years ago, approximately 5 years ago, and really it's been a wonderful, receptive community for the ideas that I have in mind, and that is to provide a conservatoire-style training, theatre acting training for young performers. One of the things that I've noticed is the gap, I suppose you might call it, in knowledge that a lot of the young actors and, again, performers have out here. A lot of the real training is in New York City or Washington, D.C. Some of it is very good training down in Richmond. But recognizing that not everybody is in a position to travel that far for their training. So one of the things that I seek to offer is to really educate performers, not just about getting up on stage and just doing a scene or a monologue, but really understanding the psychology behind a character, to develop critical thinking skills, because those are so important within the industry. I don't want performers who are just getting on stage and moving here, moving there because they're told to. They need to understand the motivation behind the characters, and also recognizing really how to take that psychology and incorporate those ideas into the voice. And that's where the vocal training for actors comes in. Taking a thought, an energy, if you will, and projecting that into a voice that conveys anger without shouting all the time. A lot of people think that projection is just about talking loud and just shouting and shouting, when in fact it's not. There are some real key breathing skills that go into the health of an actor's voice for the long-term health of the voice, that a lot of actors really don't know and don't recognize until they go on and apply for college. And so it's not just the vocals for singing, it's the vocals for acting as well. A lot of students are surprised when they realize that elocution, which is actually sort of an unfashionable word these days, but elocution, meaning the correct pronunciation and the enunciation of the words that a character uses, that is easily then conveyed over to the audience. You have to speak clearly, otherwise the ideas that the playwright has written down and placed in the hands of the character really can't be projected across. So that's another really important aspect of the acting training. And improv. A lot of improv is very, very good, a lot of fun games, a lot of team building, and all of those are super important. However, the ability to take a scene and rework it in a completely different context is something that has to be worked toward, and is something that a young actor has to understand as part of their toolbox, as part of their trade. And my goal in nurturing talent for long-term success is for when somebody leaves me, and that's my definition of success for me, is when I see the back of somebody quite literally going on and they're going and work, they're signing with an agent, or they're going and doing, for example, MAME recently down at Virginia Repertory Theatre, and Legally Blonde over at Virginia Music Theatre out in Virginia Beach. So for me, that is a success. And again, going back to giving the young actors tools of the trade, so when they get before a director whose rehearsal process really involves a lot of improv, but they're not like a duck out of water. They really are able to just handle that situation and recognize it as part of the process. So my goal is to work with motivated young people who desire to have a profession within the theatre and work for the long term. The other side of that, there was working with young people and adults also who